the European Union Superstate. Thank you very much for tuning in for Tricky Mickey. In this episode of Tricky Mickey, we're going to explore the European Superstate. Is it good for European, for the world? Is this part of another Illuminati plot? Regarding the European Superstate, we're going to explore everything objectively and factually to determine what good or evil this European state is for the world. The death of the European democracy. The European Union Superstate. When we analyze the European Superstate, it was created after World War II, first as the common market to get rid of a lot of bureaucratic red tape to facilitate trade between European states. But it turned slowly into a political union, and many European people do not want to give up their national sovereignty. The European Parliament. The European Parliament. What you're looking at is the symbol of the European Parliament. Here, all the people vote in all the European member states for the European Parliament. As you can see in this diagram, the political power is invested in the Parliament, but what they don't tell you is that it's the bureaucrats that makes the decision of which the elected official from every European country determines whether or not these legislation are going to pass, and they are told how to vote. So the European Parliament is not independent, and it doesn't pertain to the people's will. The most powerful parliament in Europe is the European Parliament. There will be no reputation of European power. That means once you join, you are a slave to the European Parliament. It's very hard to get out of it. The European Parliament is divided into various groups. According to these colors, which you can analyze on your own time, there are conservatives, there are the union of the political left in the red. You also have other people who are representing of various political philosophies, such as individuals who are nationalist parties who do not want to be part of the European Union Superstate. So therefore, how do the people of Europe get represented? The United States of Europe. The United States of Europe. This is a map of all the countries that have participated in the Eurozone, meaning also the euro, which is the money of European Parliament. But this parliament represents more than 26 countries. As you can see, the European Union is falling apart because all of these countries are over budget. Ireland is 109% in debt. The UK is over 100%. Portugal is 106%. Greece is 165%. Italy 121%. And France 86%. The European state of Europe. Larson argued that the EU project has a clear purpose to create a federal European superstate. Such as the objective does not just demonstrate the EU's contempt for democracy, it is also profoundly misguided and not in the British interest. You see here the euro being burned. The euro is the money of Europe, but it's printed out of fiat. It is not backed up by precious metal. It is nothing but a piece of paper that really has no value. The father of the European Union. The father of the European Union. The EU scam in 39 words. Europe's nation should not be guided towards the superstate without their people's understanding what is happening. This can be accomplished by the successful step, each disguised as having an economic purpose, but which will eventually be irresistibly led to federation. Jean Monnet, founder of the EU, the founding father of the EU, in a letter to a friend, April the 30th, 1952. A new European military force. The EU army is different from NATO. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was established with the United States at the head, but the EU army is totally different. Planned to create an EU army kept secret from voters. The voters of the European Union are not told this because they really have nothing to say about it. The purpose of the EU army is not to represent the national interests of every individual European country, but to solidify all the European army under the authority of a single military organization. Secretive EU army takes form as German annex the Dutch military. That is the whole purpose. All the countries of Europe that have their own individual armed forces is going to be subservient to the united EU army military force. EU army on way. EU cannot rely on NATO and needs new defense policy, says Brussels chief. As you can see, the new EU army and military force is training. Its purpose is war against Russia. EU military spending. As you can see, it is in the billions. All the countries of Europe are taxing their population, and all of this is not open for discussion. The European Parliament votes into power whatever the bureaucracy tells them to do. They are nothing but a rubber stamp. The reaction of the European people. There have been riots kept quiet by the media, but this has been caught on social media. People are rioting because they don't want an EU military force. They know what is going to come. EU zone crisis. However, making the EU into one giant country is politically unacceptable to the voters of many European countries. There are a lot of people groups in Europe who all retain their loyalty to their own nation. This means that people in Europe want to maintain their national sovereignty of their country and their culture and their heritage. Wrong leadership. Wrong leadership. Angela Merkel of Germany is... It only takes one woman leader to ruin a country. Just ask Germany how Merkel is doing. She is the driving force of the EU unification force to create a federalized force of all European Union. It's not going to be based upon democracy. It's going to be based upon the elite. She is the continuation of fascism, of European culture, not only for Germany, but for the entire continent. She is, among all the other elite leaders, ruining Europe. Everyone really hates her. Everyone really hates her. That moment when you realize you are the most despised woman in Europe, she is a fascist because she believes in the power of authority, not the power of democracy or the people's will. Let's let millions of unemployed, sexually frustrated, military-aged males into our country. What could possibly go wrong? This is the immigration failure of Angela Merkel. Europe invaded. Europe invaded. Europe is at the breaking point. The EU has failed all Europeans by allowing refugees to come into Europe without individual analysis. Is an invasion. Void of an army. All of these people escaping the war in the Middle East are nothing but possible Islamic terrorists who have successfully invaded Europe and whose intent is not to conform to European law and culture, but to destroy the European Union. This is the beginning of the end of Europe. It's not immigration. It's not asylum seeking. It's an invasion. The elite rulers of Europe do not want Europe to be European. The only way to control Europe is to Islamify by invasion. Islam in Europe. Muslim will conquer the White House. Islam will dominate the world. Jihad against the United States. It is our religious duty. In the Quran, you are called to wage war against the infidel. Greece is collapsing. Greece is collapsing. Greece collapsed because of German fascism. Under Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, Greece has been practically destroyed by the euro. The Greek bailout, will it ever be repaid? Greek bailout rescue European bankers, not the people. Greece has received 284 billion in bailout funds since 2010. 92% went to the Greek banks, not to the people. The Greek people are suffering. The Greek people are suffering. This is what happens when you give up your currency and your economic freedom of control of your economic future to a European superstate. You can only withdraw 100 to 150 euros. People are sleeping on the street, starving to death, because there is no way for Greece to have control over its destiny. Even pensioners cannot withdraw money to support themselves. Pensions have been overthrown by European courts. Greek citizens are told they have to repay for what their banks and governments did when they lived beyond their means. The riots that will occur like in Greece when the government can no longer afford to support social services that they promise. Government cannot continue to promise things that they can't support with economics. The Brexit, the beginning of the end of the European Union. Brexit to collapse European zone. The Eurozone is controlled by the Euro, and the Euro is centralized in Brussels. This led to Great Britain leaving the European Union because the people of Britain, 52% of them, voted to leave the European Union because it's a federation, a superstate that is not answerable to the people or to democracy or the rule of law, and has no respect for national sovereignty and historical and cultural value of each individual country. June the 23rd, 2016, Independence Day for Great Britain. This is the beginning of the end of Europe, hopefully. It's going to unravel. It needs to unravel because the European superstate was never democratically voted into power by the European people. It is the creation of bureaucrats and European leaders and their economic supporters. The globalists strike back. The globalists strike back. Number 1, inflict as much economic chaos as possible. 2, say, we told you so. 3, come back with another referendum to reverse the result. Don't fall for it. EU tiptoes to global slavery. The EU is tiptoeing to global slavery. The people who are rich and powerful do not want regular people to have power over their life. They want to control all of us. President Obama and the European Union. President Obama and the European Union. Knowing the euro's collapse might trigger a tsunami that could devastate the planet, Obama took action after repeatedly phoning German Chancellor Angela Merkel. He finally got her to sign on to the rescue, succeeding where the best efforts of European leaders had failed. Then he phoned Spanish Prime Minister José Luis Zapatero and practically ordered him to cut the Spanish deficit in half so that Spain wouldn't be the next domino to fall. When a United States president is intervening in European affairs, it's because the European superstate is part of the global New World Order to enslave humanity. Norway was right. Norway was right. Norway rejected joining the EU twice. They were told the same lies Brits are being told now. You will lose 50 to 100,000 jobs. The fishery will be ruined. The EU wouldn't listen to you. You will become isolated. Innovation business will lose out. Nobody will invest in Norway. The interest rate in your country will be sky high. But they were all lies. The opposite had happened. Their economy shut up. Interest rates are low. They have the lowest rate of unemployment in Europe. Joining the EU is the wrong thing for Europeans to do. Now they know the hard way. It's all a big lie. The Bible predicts the future of the EU. The European Union in Bible prophecy. The Bible predicted the last kingdom before the coming of the Antichrist. It's all biblical prophecy in Christianity. The EU Antichrist. New compelling evidence that the EU Union will become the throne of the coming Antichrist. Behold, Scripture coming true. Isn't it odd that the European Parliament in Strasbourg looks very similar to the depiction of the ancient Tower of Babel? Look at this. Europe, many tongues from one voice. All of this is contempt of God. Before coming and crushing of Antichrist, the Lord's recovery must spread and be rooted in Europe, for the Lord to gain many shining lampstands and produce his overcomers there. The promise of Christ is that he will defeat the kingdoms of the world. Prosperity greatly enriching Antichrist and his empire, especially the heart of his empire, the 10 horns, the nation's successful rise to power. Antichrist being control of Iran, Iraq, and even oil fields between the Caspian and Black Sea will have policies on who gets oil and how much, policy on free trade, global warming, etc. He will make it all work to his advantage. 2 key cities will promote and build before the rapture in time frame that will greatly prosper from the flow of good will be Tyre, his political capital, and greatest seaport, and Babylon, his religious and commercial capital. All of this has been prophesied thousands of years ago in the Jewish Bible, the Torah, and now the Christian Bible. Brussels Treaty Power. In 1995, the Western European Union military alliance became 10 member states. The WEU was an alliance separate from the European Union, but yet worked closely with it. According to biblical prophecy, there will be 10 kingdoms in Europe that the Antichrist will control. Goodbye, Europe. Goodbye, Europe. According to Christian Bible prophecy, Europe has already been defeated, and no matter what you do, the power elite of the world will not be able to control the people for too long. First came the kingdom of Babylon. Second came the Medo-Persian Empire. Then came Greek Empire. Then came the Roman Empire. And the fifth and final kingdom is the kingdom of the EU, the European Union, which is the feet of clay. Then comes the eternal kingdom of the Messiah. As you can see in this diagram, all of these kingdoms was predicted in the book of Daniel, which was predicted thousands of years ago by the prophet Daniel, that he saw in a vision given to him by God of all the kingdoms that will rule mankind before the coming of the Messiah. And this prophecy has been fulfilled for the most part. But God will destroy the last kingdom, which is the European Union, because it is Antichrist. It is not adherence to God's law. It enslaves mankind to worship the beasts. And every spirit that confesses not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist. 1 John 4-3. What this means is, for salvation, you need to have faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. It's only a matter of time before the EU reveals its interest. If action speaks louder than word, everything the EU has been doing has been for the rich and powerful, has been for the globalists, the New World Order, for the benefit of the United Nations, and the enslavement of mankind. The European state does not believe in democracy, does not believe in human rights, does not believe in respect of human dignity. Please support our channel by subscribing to Tricky Mickey. Thank you. In order for me to continue bringing you all of these videos, which I enjoy sharing with you, please support this channel by subscribing, share, and like. Please leave a comment at the bottom and press the like button in order for this video to go up the YouTube channel. Thank you for everything. Take care of yourself. This is Tricky Mickey saying until next time, bye. Take care.